When you clearly don't work somewhere, but people seem to think you do. Welcome to this episode of I Don't Work Here, Lady. Our first one is from Where's the Eggman? I stopped by a big box electronics store to look for a new computer monitor on my way back to my office from a court appearance. I left my suit jacket in my car, but was wearing a tie. Somebody walked up behind me and said, "Hey, I bought this goddamn thing here and..." I turned around to see an old guy with a big red nose that looked like somebody had jammed a potato into the middle of his face. You know the type. He reminded me of the Chris Farley character who lives in a van down by the river and probably spends most of his day waiting for kids to walk on his lawn so he can yell at them to get off of it. Before he could finish his sentence, I said, "Wait a minute, that's no way to start a conversation. You need to start over," and turned back to looking at the monitor. "Don't turn your back on me," he yelled. I looked over my shoulder and told him, "Until you decide to show some common courtesy, I'm not talking to you." By that point, several employees were watching from a distance. I exchanged quick smiles with a couple of them, so it was clear they were just enjoying the show. Potato Nose started really losing his shit. "I'm a customer of this store," he bellowed. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." "I don't care if you're the Queen of England," I replied. "I've already explained how this is going to work. Either you start over by calmly saying, 'Excuse me, may I speak to you a moment?' and I'll respond, of course, and give you my undivided attention, or you can continue to rant and rave, and I won't put up with it. It's your choice." "That's it! Where's the manager? I'll have your job!" "Even if I wasn't self-employed, you couldn't have my job," I replied. "First, you'd need a 4-year degree, followed by 3 years of law school. Then you'd have to take the hardest bar exam in the country, with a pass rate around 60%. I really doubt you could do any of that because you couldn't even figure out that I'm a customer too, and all the employees wear identical polo shirts. But I'll tell you what, I will find the manager to point you out and tell them you're incredibly rude, so if you try to complain about any of the employees, they'll know any problems are your fault." As I walked away, one of the polo-shirted employees who'd been watching rushed up to me, giggling with excitement. "That was awesome," she said. "I'm the manager, and I wish I could do stuff like that. Just let me know what you're buying and I'll give you the employee discount." She almost fell over laughing when I said, "Wait a minute, does that mean I actually do work here after all?" One thing I'll still never get is why customers think being rude and aggressive is the way to get what they're trying to get taken care of. And in this case, you weren't even an employee, so I'd hate to see how he tried to treat the employees if you weren't there. This next one is by Not a Bot RN. I live next door to an alcoholic. We bought the house over 6 years ago. Nice neighborhood near downtown. House next door seems to be under renovation. Still is. Anyway, long story short, neighbor has shown her ass too many times to count, and I have transitioned from sympathetic to get the fuck off my lawn crazy lady. I also believe she has dipped into alcoholic encephalopathy. My lawn dude, that's his title in my phone. Name? Lawn dude. It keeps my life more simple to put where I know people from, so when they contact me, I can remember why I have them saved. Example, Beverly, coworker, etc. Anyway, lawn dude is at my house doing his lawn thing when crazy lady accosts him about dandelions. Says he needs to do something about it. Poor lawn dude. I told him to ignore her and stay away from her and do not do any work for her because she has a history of not paying workers and accusing them of nefarious deeds during work to avoid having to pay them, and offering services for services. Not true barter. This trade would be illegal in most areas of my country. No, I didn't tell him that part. Just said try to avoid her and I wouldn't recommend her do any work for her. He said, yes, she seems not okay, like the smell of beer. English is a second language for lawn dude, but he gets the point across well. He asks me if he needs to do anything about the dandelions. I told him they are an issue, but I do not want to broadcast spray weed killer. Lymphoma, anyone? And I will get a dandelion tool to deal with them. Yes, I have dandelions. So does most of the street. So does crazy neighbor. In her world, everyone else is responsible for her issues, so her dandelions are my fault. Side eye at the piles of trash bags and household debris she has across her entire front lawn and driveway. Beginning of lockdown, I had a bit of time on my hands, no social obligations, limited patients needing to be seen at work, so I got out my dandelion tool, TM. I had bought and started to go, working my way from the side of my lawn away from crazy neighbor. It was drizzling that day, so I had on a baseball cap and my raincoat over my usual outside work attire, yoga pants and a t-shirt. This is roughly 3 weeks after Lawn Dude met my neighbor. Now, here you have to understand, I have a lot of interaction with this woman. We have sat together over dinner, I've sat with her on her porch, she has been in my house, she knows me, or she should. Granted, that was at the beginning before I decided she was beyond my capabilities. So crazy neighbor drives into her driveway and I'm bopping along and at a good pace pulling out dandelions in my lawn with my earbuds in. I start to hear a shrill voice. I look up and pull out my earbuds and crazy neighbor is standing at the property line. She's been told to stay away and asks me, "Are you the dandelion lady? Are you going to do my house next?" I'm like 10 feet from her lawn where she's standing. I said, "Crazy lady, I live here. This is my house I'm working on." She squints at me. "Not a bot RN?" "Yes, crazy lady, it's me. And no, I'm not doing your lawn. Go inside." "You don't want to talk to me?" Earbuds go back into ears. I look down and continue my lawn. Yes, crazy neighbor is in my phone as name crazy neighbor. If she's so obsessed with someone doing the dandelions, she needs to just do them herself. Otherwise, hire someone to do them for her. But looking at somebody else that's doing work for somebody else and asking them to work for her, that's not the right way to go about it. And our final one is from Typhlosion112191. Back when I was in high school, I got a job at one of 3 local Blockbuster stores in my town. This was almost 10 years ago. I stayed with my store 3.5 years before it closed down due to the complete incompetence of Dish Network. As this was in the early days of or before streaming services, YouTube was still fairly independent of Google, Netflix was only sending scratched up DVDs through snail mail, and there weren't 15 apps on one device to be opened and watched a few hours each year. We were naturally one of the best places to get movie rentals when they hit DVD and Blu-ray. We didn't even have competition in my town outside of the Redbox rental stations and Netflix's mailbox rentals, so it was either come to us or wait for one of the other guys to get the same movie if they had it. The real problem for my store was that there was a movie theater just a couple blocks away, and their sign was close to my store as both this theater and my Blockbuster were close to a major highway in the city. As a result, myself and my coworkers would always have to deal with exchanges like this. For the cast, we have the customer and Blockbuster employee. "Hi, I'd like to rent insert movie that isn't in theaters yet. Do you have any copies of it?" "No sir, ma'am, we don't. That movie hasn't been released to theaters yet, so it hasn't been released on DVD yet." "But I saw this movie mentioned when I watched this movie." Holds up recent new release they rented the day before. "Yes sir, ma'am, that was the trailer for that movie. It is set to come out in theaters within the next month or 2, so we don't have it available to rent." "So will you have it in a month or 2? "No sir, ma'am, it'll be in theaters at that time. We won't have that movie available to rent until about 4 to 6 months from now." "If you don't have it to rent, then why is it being shown on the movie I rented from you?" "We do not control what the movie studios put on the DVD as featured trailers." Afterwards, they would either rent something else or complain they'd have to go to another Blockbuster in the area and ask for the film there, though we'd also tell them no other store would have it yet. Even better, there were times people came to us and asked for the movies listed on the movie theater sign, to which we'd have to explain that we weren't the movie theater. It's gotta be frustrating dealing with customers like that, especially considering you're right next door to a movie theater, but at the same time, you'd also think a lot of people would be able to tell the difference between a movie that's already been released and able to be rented versus something that's not even out yet. Alright, That's enough stories for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of I Don't Work Here Lady. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.